When do we use language unintentionally that start to drive rifts between an organization, because that will become a culture killer. In any great culture, you need belonging. You need a reason to be a part of that group, right? So anything you're doing to become exclusionary is going to be something that is going to rip a culture apart.
Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Hello, Referrals Podcast listeners and viewers. This is one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. We typically record sessions 3 to 4 to sometimes 6 weeks ahead of time so that we have episodes in the hopper and we don't go too far out so that we remain current. But we recorded this interview with Bill Harney of Keeping Current Matters before we just got the news. And the news is that Steve Harney, a icon, true titan of the real estate industry, passed away on March 4th. The symbolism of the March 4th date does not escape me. Like, Steve was a man of action. Of course he died on March 4th. We should March 4th, remembering his legacy and honoring him. And, you know, the interesting thing in the generosity generation is we live and work through our values of love, generosity, and appreciation. And Steve Harney was a leader within the generosity generation. He lived and breathed love, generosity, and appreciation. And his tombstone is going to have words like loving and loved, generous and appreciative. And, Keeping Current Matters released, the following. It says, "It is with heavy hearts that we announce the sudden passing of our beloved founder, Steve Harney, a true titan in the real estate industry. Steve was more than a leader. He was a visionary whose principles and passion for people fueled all of our journey. His departure has left a void in our community, but we are committed to honoring his memory by continuing to uphold the mission and values he held dear. Steve's imprint on the fabric of the real estate business is undeniable. He transformed agents into educators, guiding them through challenges and inspiring leaders to prioritize people over profits. His dedication to homeownership and love for the real estate industry has left a profound mark on all who had the privilege of knowing him. Thank you for everything, Steve. Your legacy lives on at KCM, shaping our business for years to come." And I really love the profundity of that eulogy for Steve Harney. And I was introduced to Steve Harney through Steve Probst, who is a lender on Long Island in New York. And I had just spoken right after my book came out. I was hired to speak for the Long Island Board of Realtors and had the opportunity to speak there. And Steve Probst said, "I've got a guy for you to meet." And he introduced me over the phone through Steve Harney. It was literally a 5-minute deal on his speakerphone. And Steve, how many speakers are there in real estate? How many coaches in real estate? And he was genuinely caring and nice. Well, and he offered to help. And as fate typically does, it was interesting that a couple of months later, Michael Smalley from Florida hired me to speak at another event, and lo and behold, who was the other keynote speaker? It was Steve Harney. And what was interesting is I went first, and I delivered my presentation on love, generosity, and appreciation, and 12 strategies under each of those. And then he came on and literally spent the first 5 minutes complimenting me. And for a new speaker in that world. And just like I was in a transformative position between, selling homes and letting 7L take me where it eventually took me. And what he did was gave me a huge confidence boost that I was on the right track with spreading the message of love, generosity, and appreciation. And he did it by showing me love, generosity, and appreciation. And he also knocked it out of the park when he spoke. And it's, to this day, one of the best events that I've ever had the honor of speaking at. And thank you with Michael Smalley and at Waterstone for hosting such a great event. But it just goes to show who Steve Harney is as a human being. He is going to be missed. That is one of the reasons that I created this movement of the generosity generation is sales and real estate should not be this cutthroat, tearing people down, doing whatever it takes to win, quote unquote, competition. And because guess what? You don't want to be one way at work and then go home and be a different way, right? You also, on your tombstone, you don't want them to write 2024 salesperson of the year. Like, that's not what you want on your tombstone. We got to begin with the end in mind. And what's going to be written on Steve Harney's tombstone has nothing to do with real estate. It has everything to do with being an awesome human being, being loving, generous, and appreciative. And it's just amazing to me how fast life can happen. I mean, like, this is sudden. This was not expected. And it saddens me. Obviously, I know I'm being a little emotional, but it's one of those where, the other thing too is we always think about our legacy, and that's what leads into today's episode. Wait, and you can kind of sometimes judge a parent by their kid, which, as a 15-year-old son's father right now, please don't judge me by my 15-year-old son. I'll just put that. But Bill Harney is Steve Harney's son. And wait until you hear what he shares with you today. And what a great way to honor Steve Harney and see the legacy that he has left behind with his son, with Keeping Current Matters, with David Childers, and everything that they are going to continue to do in this business. They are going to continue to be a lighthouse in the real estate business. And I'm proud and honored to have been associated with Steve Harney. And I can't wait for you to hear this interview with Bill Harney. So here it is. Welcome, everyone, to Referrals Podcast. This is going to be another amazing episode. As you know, I know that you look forward to this every single Tuesday. I look forward to every single one of these interviews, but today I am especially looking forward to it because we have a very, very special guest today who we have not talked to before. I love that. I'm naturally curious. I cannot wait to dive deep into leadership and culture. And I'm telling you, if you think about what are the problems or challenges of most businesses, and they think about like profit, they think about sales, they think about leads, they think about leverage, they think about systems, they think about technology. And you know what it all boils down to? It all boils down to leadership, and that drives culture, which drives the profits. It drives the leads. It drives the sales. It drives everything else. Leadership is the foundational component, and that's what we're going to dive deep into today. I cannot wait to do it. Before I do that, though, I've got to get a quick shout out to Angela DeLeese. She is a realtor in Carmel, Indiana. Hopefully it's Carmel. It's either Carmel or Carmel, Indiana, which reminds me of Snickers for some reason. I don't know. For those of you at home, snicker a little bit or eat a Snickers. But Carmel, Indiana, she said, I joined RMA in November. RMA is short for Referral Mastery Academy. It's our subscription product. And I am currently enjoying Event Mastery class, so thought this would be a great addition to keep up the momentum. Love Referrals podcast. Already listened to 5. I mean, she just joined us, so that's fantastic. And that leads me to our call to action today, Referral Mastery Academy. Listen, in April, we are featuring 2 of our top rated classes of all time. Why are they 2 of the top rated classes? It's time mastery and energy mastery. Well, if you think about your life, what is the most important resource in your life? Or if you think about what is the most important thing in your life? A lot of people, well, they say it's time. So guess what? We're going to focus on time and time mastery. Listen, it's only 8 sessions, right? It's a very easy Monday, Friday class, but you're going to get your time block together. And what is a time block? It's an hour of your life. It's really a life block. So in time mastery, we're going to focus on that. But I'm going to tell you something. I don't believe that time is the most precious asset. Think on that for a second. I truly believe that energy is our most precious asset. We all get 24 hours, but do we all have 24 hours of energy? No, we all have different battery charge rates. Right now, you look at your battery in your body or in your mind or in your capacity, it might say 80% for you, but for somebody else, it might be 30%. How do we maximize our energy? And that is energy mastery. You're invited to take both those classes as part of Referral Mastery Academy in April. It's going to be a dynamic month. It's going to be awesome. It's going to set the tone for the rest of the year for you. I hope you'll join us at referralmasteryacademy.com. Check it out. See if you like it. Speaking of things I know you're going to like, today's guest is going to blow your mind. Today's guest is Bill Harney. Bill Harney challenges what is possible in the workplace. Isn't that just like the greatest opening sentence? It challenges what is possible. Why do you go to conferences? Why do you go join Gen and join the Generosity Generation? Why do you go to our events? It's so you can see what's possible. And let's challenge what is possible in the workplace and in real estate. He is a visionary entrepreneur and the esteemed owner and chairman of Keeping Current Matters, the leading educational content provider for the housing industry. After years leading sales and marketing teams in professional sports, Bill joined his father to grow KCM from a founder-focused small business to an industry powerhouse. After taking over as CEO in 2014, Bill built KCM with a unique mix of business-savvy cultural investments and an unwavering commitment to employee empowerment. His proudest professional achievement is the strength and consistency of KCM's culture as the team has grown from 6 people in a garage-based business, gotta love it, to 50-plus employees working together in Richmond, Virginia. Bill is an expert in team leadership, strategic planning, and scaling powerful cultures, and we are excited to have him on the podcast today. Without further ado, let's welcome Bill Harney to Referrals Podcast.
Well, Michael, thank you so much. That was a great intro. Appreciate that. It is an honor to be here. And I have one comment right off the bat, right? Just that you're offering out the time mastery and energy mastery classes. I've always been a believer. We get 3 resources, every person, every organization. You get time, energy, and money, right? And if you're offering folks the opportunity to be able to master the other 2, the third one will come with it. And I just, hats off to you for putting that together as a part of this package. That's amazing. And I hope that folks, take you up on that because that's been part of the key to our success for sure.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And you didn't have to. And I will tell you that we've never done time mastery and energy mastery the same month, right? We've done them separate months. And our ambassadors told us, man, what if time and energy mastery were in the same month? And so this is the first time we've done this in 12 years of Referral Mastery Academy. So I'm genuinely excited to see people pair the 2 up. And at the end of the month, their schedule is going to be so energizing. And think about that when you wake up and your schedule, your plan is energizing and maximizing your time and energy. I can't wait. I don't teach time mastery. We've got Carla and Neil who are time mastery experts on that. I do personally teach energy mastery. So there's so many things that I love about it. So thank you for pointing that out. And that tells about the kind of person you are too, right? As you could have just gone, well, let's talk about me, right? That's like, boom, you're already serving and helping. And I appreciate that. So, all right. I want to get to the juice. I mean, like literally, we're going to start with when it comes to culture. Let's go into culture first.
Yeah.
Like you talk about when it comes to culture, words matter.
Yeah.
Why are words so important, and how have you seen this done well? And we can also maybe bring up some examples that went poorly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. I think words are everything. So I don't want to get into too much theory here, but like, so the underpinning of any culture that's ever been, the reason that we have so many different cultures across so many different languages across the country is because as cultures expand beyond where they originally came from, they need to be different, right? I grew up, my dad used to always tell me 10% different is 100% better. It's always about, from the marketing standpoint and in our industry, in the real estate space, if you can be just a little bit different, you're going to be a lot better. And that comes rooted from the same idea from cultures. When you spread out from where you were, you need to figure out what makes you different from the group that you just left. Beliefs, values, and language are the three cores that come with that. So when it comes to culture, when we think about it in a business setting, right, in a company setting, words are everything, right? Because it allows you to be able to differentiate, okay, here, we do this. We speak like this. We use this language. An example, so at KCM, we don't have clients. We don't have customers. We have members, right? And we want to think about what the industry would call clients or customers. We want to think about them as members because they're part of this journey with us. They're coming in and doing that. That's something that we've had since day one. And that small little difference there enrolls our team as well as enrolls our members in how we want to think about business, how we want to think about working at KCM, how we want to think about serving our members and being able to do that. So, all
right, hold on. I gotta stop you right there. Right. First of all, you just dripped 10% different is 100% better. Right. We just blew through that. and yet that is such an important thing to think about especially like in real estate and lending. How are you 10% better? I mean, they're like, oh, quality, service, rates, and blah, 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 right? And on the real estate side, some of them just go to cheaper commission. And it's like, okay, that's a race for the bottom right there. But it's one of those. So I freaking love that right off the bat. And what a great lesson. The other one too is calling your clients, not clients or customers, which is a transactional term.
100%.
That is a transactional term to members. And I love that because now they're instantly like they're members of a club, like a country club, like a private. Yeah, there's exclusivity with it. And we call Referral Mastery Academy members, we call them ambassadors.
Yep.
Right. And hopefully that's a transformational term instead of just a transactional term.
Mm-hmm.
We want to transform our RMA members into raving fan brand ambassadors who speak highly of us and refer us willingly. Right. So I am so in a lot, and I hope that, and God, there's so much, I mean, we're 5 seconds into this, dude, and you're dropping pearls of wisdom. And the other part of this too is we talk about don't call your events client appreciation events or client appreciation parties. Take the word client out of it because it's exclusionary. First of all, if they're not clients, but they're referral sources, do you want them there? And the answer is you do want them there.
You want to build community.
Yeah. So that's why we want to call our events Thanks a Latte, I Love You Latte, the Great Pie Day giveaway, the great whatever it may be, is because we want it to be inclusionary and we want a lot of people to be involved. And also when you call a client appreciation event, it kicks in RESPA. And all of a sudden you've got rules and regulations on a party that maybe shouldn't be there. And so words matter. I mean,
I want to call out too, just even in that language, I love the play there and being able to shift the language around a client appreciation event, because when you're doing a client appreciation event, at the end of the day, everybody knows who that event is about, right? They're all clients of who? Of me. That event is about me. If it's a client appreciation event, we're going to call it a client, right? But it's really about me. When you talk about it as Pie Day or Thanks a Latte, right? And you're making it wider, this now becomes a service that you are serving the community and whatever that means, whether it's your local community, whether it's your business relationship community that you're wrapping your arms around. This is now I am serving. And I know for sure clients that I work with, Mike, we talked about this before we got on the call, right? The clients that you work with, the folks that we're talking to, right? They want to serve, right? They know that through service will come the rewards that put food on the table and a roof over our heads. So it's like that words difference, 10% different, 100% better.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's a beautiful thing. And it's just like with the client events. I always say, hey, listen, if your top referral source wanted to come, would you say okay? And the answer is yes, right? And then I was like, all right, you're doing a thanks a latte and somebody comes in off the street and they come into the event. Would it be okay for them to have coffee? Would you buy them a coffee too? And it's like, absolutely. So these are really more community events than they are client events. So let's name it so. Let's make it so. And you nailed it. And all right, so we're going to keep going with the words a little bit. Where have you seen this done poorly?
Yeah. So where have I seen it done poorly? Probably the biggest example I can see, I will call out in there is when it's usually done well when you're intentional. When you're not intentional is where things can run off the rails, right? And I know a company that I'm close with that they are struggling very mightily right now with an us versus them mentality, right? There is us, this group, and there is them, the rest of the organization. And they don't recognize that in their language when they're talking about the leadership team, they're immediately excluding everybody else, right? You're one company, you're one organization, right? And my argument to my friends that are leading that organization is like, you're one company, you should act like it. Right. Yeah. So those are the types of things like when do we use language unintentionally that start to drive rifts between an organization because that will become a culture killer, right? You want in any great culture, you need belonging. You need a reason to be a part of that group, right? So anything you're doing to become exclusionary is going to be something that is going to rip a culture apart and is often what leads in going back and studying, I don't know if it's anthropology or whatever it is, right? Just studying cultures of the past, you recognize those are the things that started to have rifts and people start leaving and creating their new culture, right? And in an organization, you don't want that. Like you want them here.
Right. You want to be all together,
Yeah.
And it's a couple of things on that is number one is that's where like the term the ivory tower, right? And they're talking about, oh, well, they work in the ivory tower. They live in the ivory tower. And it's like, that may not sound like much, but it's definitely a separatist kind of a comment. And it's not what the leadership wants. The other part of this too is it's so funny is like, I'm watching the history of the Roman Empire and it's, I happened to be on Netflix and it came up and I was like, oh, and what it was interesting is like, I know a lot of history. I've read a lot of books. I'm not sure how the Roman Empire actually ended, like what made what. And so, but the problem is I came in like 67 or 69 BC. Right. And I'm also very interested in the whole 33 years of Christ. Right. So they're like, oh, well, I'll see how they reacted to that. And then and son of a gun, I'm like 8 series in. And, but it was in there. It was so many great lessons of why they broke down, was the separatist and the whole Senate and the emperor and the fight the Senate and the emperor would have. And it just like all these different little fights. And what happened is, they didn't necessarily just get conquered. They just broke into a lot of little segments, right? From lack of leadership, or there was better leadership in the Byzantine area than it was in the Western part where Rome was. And it was all based on, if you look at it, it was basically based on leadership or poor leadership. Yeah. And so you hit it on the head from the anthropology or sociology standpoint, it all boiled back down to that. So,
I want to give, if I can, Mike, I want to give one tip, right, to recognize in this space specifically. This is a big one for me, but recognize one spot here. Watch your pronouns, right? If you're using the word they to ever refer to anybody inside of your organization, you have a problem.
Yeah.
Right? If we does not mean everybody. So at KCTM today, I think we have 52 people, right? I lost count at this point. But I think we have 52 people. If I say we, and I don't mean 52 people, I'm creating part of the challenge that I want to fight. Right? So like watch your pronouns, our, right? So at KCM, I always want to talk about our marketing team, even though I don't work on the marketing team.
Mm-hmm.
It's like our marketing team is doing this. So anytime I'm referring, I'm using our, not the.
That's right.
Because the is close to they, and that's now creating a rift. I want to bring everybody together. So watch your pronouns. It will be the biggest tip on that side of things.
Well, you talk about that. We can actually wield that as a positive weapon as well. An example is a realtor, right? So that's what I would do with my listings is it wasn't like we did marketing and the seller was just the seller. I would incorporate them into the marketing. And it was, I would just say, hey, listen, according to NAR, 95% of all homes sell to agents and that, but 5%, and this is a true stat, 5% of all homes sell to someone the seller knows or someone that knows the seller knows. And it's like, all right, I'll take care of the 95%. Will you take care of the 5%? Yep. And they're like, absolutely. And I'm like, okay, because we want to market this home at 100%, right? And they're always like, absolutely. And I'm like, okay, here's what I need you to do.
You want to market.
Yeah. And so I would say, all right, I want you to email everybody you know this, and I want you to post on Facebook this, which was their listing with some notes and then my contact information. So if they had any questions, they would bother me and not the seller, right? And I'd said that to them because I didn't want them to be bothered. I wanted to be bothered because that meant leads. But and then they're like, absolutely. So I made it really easy for them to do the 5%. And then from then on, it was our marketing team, our marketing, and not Michael's marketing or the Maher team's marketing. Yep. And the thing that we have to remember here is there is so much power in that because nobody will ever fire the marketing team that they're on.
Yeah.
So the sellers would never fire me for marketing if they were going to fire me. And that's a really important thing because those that call expireds, they know what they're doing, right? And their opening line is, well, there's 4 reasons a home doesn't sell. It's price, condition, location, or marketing. So out of those 4, which do you think was the biggest problem? And the expired callers, they want them to say marketing because then they can say, oh yeah, well, it's marketing. Well, that agent didn't do a good job, right? And so I'll come and talk to you about my marketing because price, location, and condition. Well, location is God, is the only one that can change that. Condition is condition that the seller's not going to blame themselves. And price is kind of up to the market. So it doesn't feel
the last thing they want to work on changing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those where, well, my clients would never say that the marketing was the problem because they were part of the marketing. So anyway, there's so much power to what you're saying with the use of pronoun, and we're literally busting all of this down to the language, to pronouns, how important pronouns are. All right, so let's talk about a couple of nouns now. You say there's a delineation between the words company and business.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a second.
Yeah, this is the next iteration of your words matter, right? So at KCM, when I teach orientation, one of the first things I teach every single person here is like, I'm going to use 2 words that to the rest of the world are synonymous and mean the same thing. It's company and business, right? And so what I always talk about is just like business. When I'm saying business, I'm really specific. I'm talking about revenue and KPIs and EBITDA and how many free trials or clients or members did we bring in today and all the jargony business talk that everybody in business knows, right? So they all come in, it's like, this. When I'm talking about business, that's the world I'm living in. When I'm talking about company, this is 52 unique individuals that are bringing all of their amazingness, all of their weirdness, right? And all of their talents and the stuff that goes great in their day, the stuff that goes poorly in the day into the 4 walls that we get to work in with them every single day. Yep. Anytime I'm talking about company, that's the world I'm living in. And I want to be really clear that both are 100% important when you're growing an organization. When you're leading an organization, you have to have 100% focus in both areas. And I want to let my team know from day one, that's how we're going to run things here, right? We have to have a healthy business. We have to have all the numbers that be in place and all this kind of stuff. But we're also going to make sure we have a healthy organization. We have a great company.
Yeah, it's almost like lead indicator and lag indicator. Your company is your lead indicator. We're gonna if we have a healthy company and we have that works, then that is going to produce a healthy business. And the business is actually the lag indicator. And I love that. And you're almost talking about company like it's the same as a family, same
There's a
values.
lot of people. Yeah, Michael, there's a lot of people out there that say, like, don't talk about your business like a family. You can't fire family. I'm sitting there, I was like, well, I know a couple of people have definitely fired their family. So, in real life, not in business.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I don't know about that one, but no, I think I want to talk about KCM like it's a family, right? Because at the end of the day, and I know you're going to agree with me because I know who you are, Michael. I know what you care about. At the end of the day, all of this boils down to relationships.
That's right.
Right. And it's time spent with other people. When we're in the work space, when you work in an office, right? Like I do, right? When you're in an office there, I spend more time with the folks at work than I do with my family most during the week for sure.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like those relationships are what's going to determine your success or your failure. The end of the day, whether you're in your business leading an organization like I am, whether you're a sales professional and you're going out there, your success is going to be directly correlated to the value and the strength of the relationships that you have.
Powerful. Well, all right. So let's we've talked about leadership and the power of words. So we're building on this culture and now let's talk about culture in a little more depth. And I think a lot of people right now are saying, well, we'll just put more ping pong tables in, or we'll have a free lunch program as part of what we do at our company that will drive culture. And it's like, well, is that what you think? Or, what does great culture mean to you, and what does it look like to you?
Yeah, I think for me, so it's interesting to bring up those two. Like, the ping pong one is always the stereotypical one, and I know some great organizations that have lots of ping pong tables. I don't think that's what made them great organizations. I think that that's just part of who they are. I know the owners and the leaders in that organization; they happen to be big ping pong players, right? So that matches, right? Culture. I'll say two things on what makes a strong culture first, because great is going to be completely subjective, right? So I'll share what it is for me, but it should be different for everybody else. What makes a strong culture? It's the energy or lack thereof of an organization around beliefs, values, and goals, right? If you have a strong culture, there is an energy towards that. If you have a weak culture, there's no such thing as no culture. Everybody has a culture. Some are intentional and build it. Some just let it develop on its own, and those are usually the weak ones. All right, there's just no energy around those areas, so then there's no momentum that gets built inside of the organization. So that's what I'd say. It's the energy around those things: goals, values, and beliefs.
Yeah. It seems like we've talked about beliefs, values, languages, right? And a lot of times your goals have that language to them too, right? And it leads to the goal and how you establish the goal, and is it a reward or an award, or is it a pain, right? Or are we running away from pain or towards pleasure? And that's that kind of, you can identify that with the language. Is it a problem, or is it a challenge, or is it an opportunity, right? And those two have different meanings. I love that. All right, so it can be difficult to put your finger on a company's culture. How have you operationalized the beliefs and feelings kind of underpinning your culture or your company's culture? How have you made things real and tangible for your team? Because I think that's the problem is a lot of people talk about values, but they're not living them, or they can't see them, or there's nothing concrete about it.
Yeah. And I want to answer your question. I'm very curious to hear your answer to the same question, Michael, if you don't mind sharing with your team. So for us, I think the biggest thing, kind of getting back to the ping pong tables, but just tying it into this question, is it's got to be genuine, right? You brought up free lunch. Ping pong tables are free lunch. At KCM, we do offer free lunch, right? But that's because it is underpinned by a belief that the people you spend your time with, or the people that you build relationships with, are the people that you will go to war with and for.
That's right.
Right? So I want to create opportunities. We are fully in office. Big move for remote. It works for a lot of great organizations. It does not work for us. Right? So because relationships are a core of our culture. It's the epitome of our culture, I would argue. And I want to create opportunities. So if I buy lunch for everybody, I know we're going to eat lunch together. And so when I see different shifts of 15, 20, 25, 30 people eating lunch together at a bunch of different tables and a bunch of having conversations not about work, I know those relationships, those personal relationships, are getting deepened, right? And that is going to translate into more collaboration, more creativity, a heck of a lot more trust, a lot more vulnerability, which all lead to great organizations, great momentum, and business results that are going to come out of that. right? So I think that it's got to be genuine to what are the beliefs there, right? So we are a very open culture. We share. Belonging is very important. I want you to be able to bring your entire self, to the office, right? So there's no dress code at KCM, right? We got folks with nose rings. We got folks with all the
tattoos, the whole 9 yards.
It doesn't matter. Amount of tattoos. I don't have a tattoo, and I am by far in the minority.
Yeah, I've got a birthmark that looks like an A-bomb mushroom cloud. So other than that, I don't have any tattoos. So
that's important to us, right? Like we want belonging. We want to invite in those types of things. So I would say what are great cultures? What are strong cultures or where there's an energy? Great cultures is when that energy is tied to a set of shared values and beliefs that are fostered and communicated. And there are things that you can do. I mean, heck, we, every year, here's one thing that anybody can do. Everybody's been told you need to have core values. Most of them live on the wall, right, and never manifest themselves into the walk and talk, right? So how do you do that is really it's for sure step one, right? So you got to teach it. Right. You got to figure out how do you tie things in. So we have a software company that a SaaS product that allows us to be able to give high fives and give awards and recognition amongst the team on this kind of stuff. And it was great out of the box, but we were an early customer. So we asked them, hey, can you custom code this so that whenever somebody fills out and wants to give a high five to somebody in the organization, they tie it to one of our core values. Right. So now that's a required field when you're giving a high five. You have to connect to a core value. That means we're getting people to think about it. Every month at our monthly meeting, we go over what are those. We call them Team Foria Toots. Team Foria is a software program that we use. We call them Toots because we're just going to do a bunch of shout outs. We've got to cut it back because otherwise this would take us 2 hours.
Right.
And we theme them by value as we're going in here. At the end of the year, I will tell you, Michael, for all of the things that we have done at KCM, when we've been great place to work, top 50 list 7 times. We've been the number 4 small business place in the country. So we've got the accolades to back up some of the stuff that we're talking about. We don't do it for that, but that's just the nice perk of having it. But the number one thing that we ever did at the end of every year, we host a dinner, usually in January, where we give out our core value awards, which are voted on by every person in the organization who lived that value the best and why. And it's this beautiful moment. We invite our entire team. We invite significant others, friends and spouses to come out there. And then we read what our team wrote about each other as part of this. The tears at that, the pride showed by, I'm thinking of one individual right now and his wife, when he won the Core Value Award, watching his wife's face just be completely overtaken by emotion in that moment. I'm like, okay, we're making an impact on people. Right. Yeah. That is by far the most prestigious thing we do in the organization.
Yeah.
That's the one everybody's gunning for.
That's right. I love it. It reminds me of, we have the Big Light Award and the Big Heart Award.
Yeah.
And the Big Light Award is a lighthouse, right? And kind of has that. And the Big Light Award is for the one who implements the most, or is just that person who models by implementation. They're actors, they're doers, they're always action takers, and they're always leading us through action. And implementation is kind of what I would call like a sub value of, like, I don't have a lot of time for people who don't implement, so, and if you want to do stuff, you need to, if you want to accomplish stuff, you got to definitely do stuff. Right. And so the Big Light Award is always one of those where it's just like, man, this producer, and they're just producing. And then we have the Big Heart Award, which exemplifies the most loving, the most kind, the most generous, the most appreciative. And just, it's great because sometimes the Big Heart Award is somebody who's producing a lot, but for the most part, it's somebody that is really comfortable with 20 to 40 transactions a year. And they're just, man, they're always there to help and champion, other people. And that's what I love about Referral Mastery Summit, which is our big event in September, is that's when we give away the Big Light and Big Heart Award. And I absolutely just love because it's like they're living what we're teaching, and they're living and breathing love, generosity, and appreciation. They're just great models. But you hit it on the head, is the best thing, or when the people in the audience or attendees are talking about the people who won the Big Light Award and the Big Heart Award before we give it away, or right after we give it away. Yeah. So, I mean, you nailed it. I love that.
And I love how you connect those to your beliefs, right? You shared your values, right? You love, generosity, right? And appreciation. right? So if you didn't have a big heart award, you would not be living into where it's got to be genuine. It's got to be authentic. Otherwise everybody's going to smell it, right? Like, but that comes through and the passion comes in there. And that's why it takes off. It's not the award. It's not like we got really cool awards and they're fancy, right? And they're cool. I wish I was eligible. So
that's right.
They look great.
Yeah. Right? I would love to have a big light award and a big heart award. You're exactly right. Why don't I have one of those in here? That's a really good point.
Like, let's make one extra for me every year. That hasn't gone over well.
Yeah. I mean, it really does embody what because I look at myself sometimes as almost like a heart surgeon. Is I cure calloused hearts. And, in sales, they tell you've got to do these hard things like cold call, door knock, don't have any fear of rejection, go get rejected, for the fun of it. And, every no means not now instead of no, even though, that doesn't work in a lot of aspects of life. And it's just one of those where, a lot of salespeople have had to callous their heart, and I'm like, no, we can wipe that away. You can actually, do this by being loving, generous, and appreciative, and it works. And not only does it works faster, it works better, and it works for a longer period of time. So it definitely aligns well. And I don't think I've ever said that on Referrals podcast. I've never talked about the big light award, big heart award, or curing calloused hearts. And it's I appreciate you bringing that up. So all right, so we're talking about having fun and working hard, but hard for fast-paced teams. It's hard for them to do it consistently, right? And how have you encouraged and championed, this have fun while you work hard culture in your business and in your company, and what's gone right and what's maybe gone wrong with that?
Yeah, I think for us it comes down to it's a value for us, right? So I would always argue, if you want to have like whether it's work hard, play hard, whatever version of this value you want to have or this belief, if that is true to you, right, then I highly encourage it. It's generally more fun for the team. For us, our core value around this is that we don't take ourselves seriously. We take what we do very seriously. Like I'm very aware that, we are blessed to serve north of 30,000 real estate agents across the United States. I could just do the quick math on how many individuals an agent works with to know that over 1 million people are impacted by the work that we do every single year. That's no small potatoes. We're not curing cancer. We're not on the front lines. Like I want to be real about that, right? But what we do absolutely matters. But we don't have to let that go to our head. Right. Yeah. So for me, that's the value, right? So it's got to be rooted in authenticity and genuineness. And then it's going to be modeled from the top, right? For me, I'm out walking the halls every single day, laughing and joking and having fun, right? And doing those things. And I'm not saying, listen, we're in a time right now, the real estate industry is not easy today.
That's right.
Like serving the real estate community right now, this is not the easiest time we've ever had.
Yeah. Working harder than ever before, but hopefully keeping it fun as well.
Exactly. Here's my favorite. Here's what my team hears from me all the time. Listen, if you can't work hard and have a blast while you do it, why the heck? I'll use heck. I'm from New York, so I want to say a different word. But why the heck are you working hard?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Like if you can't have fun while you're working hard, go somewhere else.
Yep. Well, that's the love, right? That's the love value. Love what you do what you love.
100%.
And if you can't, then guess what? Now, there are times when like we're going to have to do stuff that we don't necessarily like. But does it get us what we like in the end? And, does it get us what we love? There's going to be aspects of this. And the ideal world is you do what you love what you do, and you delegate the rest. Yeah. And hopefully that's what that's what our leaders are trying to do. And that's the advice I'd give. But I am genuinely interested in like, what's the best piece of leadership advice that you turn to the most, right? What is it? Something you've read, something you've heard, and it's just like while you're building your business, this is the thing that seems to be echo in your head.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's definitely one that rises to the top. I was lucky enough to see Dave Ramsey at a conference, and I'll go on record. I don't agree with everything that Dave says, but this one I definitely did. He was talking about leadership. He was talking about his leadership team, and he was talking about the moment of looking around his leadership table and recognizing in the moment, like, I am the dumbest guy at this table. And then in only the way that Dave can do it in his style, it's just like, the only reason I got to be the CEO is I was here first, right? But that always stuck with me of, we all heard the old adage, like, if you're the smartest person in the room, you need a new room. Like, but he really embodied it in that moment in a way that just, that stuck with me, and recognizing, okay, I want to surround myself with people who are better than I am, who are smarter than I am, who know more than I am, because I want to go further than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I am a believer. Another thing that I would put in the same box is just like no organization can outgrow their leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I had a mentor of mine. He was giving a presentation to the entire room, but I swear he was looking dead into my soul. I am not the CEO my organization needs me to be a year from now, but I will be. Right? And that commitment to doing the work, that commitment to excellence, that commitment to figuring out what that is. And the only way you get better is by surrounding yourself with people who know more. Right. And this goes back to the same idea that we were talking about earlier, Michael, right? Which is, again, no matter what line of work, I'm an owner of an organization. I'm still a leader in the organization, right? But in my sales career as well, prior to this, it's all about relationships and referrals, right? It's all about who do I know that can help me accomplish what I want to accomplish, right? I'm great at working with mentors, consultants, employees that are a heck of a lot smarter than I am. And thinking, how do I build my team? Right. So again, whether I'm building a company or I'm building a sales career, I want to know who's my team, who's my person when I want to think about marketing strategy, who's my person when I'm like, I need referrals through tax attorneys. I need referrals. Who's my person when I have a tax question? This is who I refer.
There you go.
Right. How do I build that team? Right around me, no matter where I am, that's what I'm doing. And then that mentality, and Dave Ramsey really clicked it on, for me on thinking about that. Like I need to surround myself with people who are better than me and smarter than me. And if I do that, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah. My dad always told me that don't be a PhD, hire PhDs, and it goes to the other part that you were talking about is the law of the lid from John Maxwell, where he talks about, the law of the lid. The lid is the leader. We are the lid of the organization. And if we are the lid, then we need to either go through growth and improvement all the time, which we probably should do anyway, but we also need to be growing the people around us and that kind of thing. And the law of the lid is always based on the whole, fleas can be trained. Fleas can jump 6 to 8 feet if they're left on their own. But if you put them in a jar, you close the lid on them and it's a 6-inch jar, then you can actually, after about 4 hours, take off the lid and they will literally just jump the same. So we've limited that flea, which used to, jump 6 to 8 feet. Now they can only jump 6 inches. And we are that on our organization and the people within our organization. How are we limiting them and what opportunities are we giving them to grow and expand and get better? And this is something I need to hear every month. Like I just need to be reminded of that because I'm in growth mode. I'm always growing. But if sometimes I need to take a step back and go, okay, what can we help them grow? And asking them, and we have monthly meetings, asking them how they are growing and what they can do. I love all that. All right, so we're kind of rallying to the finish point, and I always stop. It's like, all right, what words of wisdom would you get? And so what one piece of advice would you give to, leaders and entrepreneurs today? Like, what would you say to them? And I mean, this is a big statement, right? This is you being Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
for all the, the realtors, leaders, entrepreneurs, small business owners who tune into this every Tuesday. You've already given 9,000 pearls of wisdom and dropped a ton of nuggets of gold. I'm asking for one dang more, Bill. One more.
I'll give you. All right, I'm going to give you two. One's
okay.
The dumb one's mine. The smart one's my wife. I'll start with the dumb one, right?
There we go. So you took that PhD thing to heart, right? Don't be one, marry one. That's even more about. Yeah, that's me too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Marrying up is a strength. I just want you to know.
It is an absolute strength, and is one that I did very, very well in, and I'm grateful for. Yeah, I think if I'm whether I'm an entrepreneur, if I'm a business owner, if I'm a sales professional in an organization, I said it before, I think the strength of your relationships, the value in your relationships are going to drive everything, and you're going to measure your success based on how strong those relationships are. That's my belief. That's core to me. And I would measure myself in those areas. Mm-hmm. I look back every single year, figure out do I have better relationships than I did a year ago? Are my relationships with my team, which is my members, my customers, my clients, right? I don't have that. I don't talk to the external market, right? My people are the people that work at KCM. Do I have stronger relationships today with them today than I did a year ago? And my wife said this to me not that long ago as we were having a conversation. I'm like, honey, I have no idea if you realize how brilliant that is. Right? She's like, listen, think about this. There's a lot of people that say, she's like, I just want to be in business, but I don't want to do all the people stuff. Right? It's really easy to say, I want to go make money. I want to do the business stuff like we talked about before. I don't want to do all this company stuff. This is soft skills. This is the soft stuff.
That's right.
I don't want to think about that. Right? Recognize 100% of your customers are people, regardless of any industry you're in. 100% of you're selling to a person.
Yep.
Right? 100% of your employees are people. 100% of your stakeholders, and whatever that means for you, right, are people. 100% of your referral partners are people, are human beings. If you are not in the people business, you're not in business.
That's right.
Right? And remember that. Like, that is critically important. Whether you're CEO of an organization and looking to build and you're in growth mode, whether you're a sales professional like I was prior to this, right? And figuring out like, all right, how do I know people? I built my sales career on referrals before I got to know you and your work, right? That is how I built it, because I hated making cold calls. And I said, I'm good with people. Let me see if I can leverage that strength of mine, right? And my wife let me know why that was so important 20 years later.
Yeah, wow. That's drop the mic. I mean, in 7L, I wrote an entire chapter. We're in the people business. You know, it's so important. And I love what you said about the relationships and the strength of relationships and building, you know, not just building more relationships. I think that's where a lot of sales organizations have got, is they just think, you know, it's a numbers game. You got to have more. It's not a numbers game. It's a people game. It's a people game. And what is a relationship? Like, I would define that a relationship is a value exchange. That's all it is. It's a value. And if there's no value being exchanged, you don't have a relationship. And the problem is we do have limited value. We really do. We have limited value to give. So we have to limit the number of people that we give it to. And then it's like, all right, that thought's a little mind blowing. Then you're like, all right, who are the vital few? And the vital few can be 150, but it's one of those where, you know, not everyone is equally important in our world, and nor should they be. Like, you know, my son and wife are number 1 and 1A, and I won't tell you which one is which.
It depends on the day.
Yeah. Not sure I'd rate even in the top 3 for them some days, but it's one of those where I just, this has been, I mean, I literally have a page and a half of notes, and I've read 2,500 books on leadership and business and culture and everything else. And you, what I love about it is you didn't just regurgitate some stuff that you read in a book. You told us stuff that literally you're living, breathing every single day. And I just want to acknowledge that and appreciate that and just say, man, thanks a billion for coming on and sharing with us. And we've got to reserve the right to have you again. Are you open to that?
Open to that 100%. I appreciate the opportunity here. I want to thank you, right? Like, the work that you're doing to be able to help so many people figure out how to do what they want to do and have success doing that, and doing it what I would argue is the right way. Right. I just appreciate that. And I want to say thank you for our industry, the industry that we both share in the housing space. I just want to say thank you very, very much. And yes, it would be an honor. I'd be happy to jump back on. This is a blast. I enjoyed the back and forth and kicking things around with you.
Yeah, great conversation. And thank you. And I can say the same with Keeping Current Matters and what you and Steve have done and David as well. And you know, I feel like there's a lot of great people who are doing a lot of great things for the industry, while maybe there's some villains out there who are maybe trying to tear it down. And I just, you know, we're going to win. We're going to win. The good, you know, it's just like every movie you've ever watched, right? It's you don't want to be on the wrong side of history right now. Yeah. And I feel like
guys always win at the end.
That's right. We're on the right side of history. Yeah. Good guys finish first in this case. So I love it. I appreciate you a ton, and we'll have you on again for sure.
I appreciate that, Michael. Thank you, sir.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, another amazing episode of Referrals Podcast. I want you to rate, review, and I want you to share with me what you got from today. If you'll go to joingengen.com, that's joingengen.com, you're joining the Generosity Generation, which is the largest global referral network that I know of. and you'll be joining that at joingengen.com. You'll answer a few questions. We'll let you in, and then share with me what you got from today's podcast, and also look around while you're in the group, and hopefully that'll help you get that next referral. And last but not least, if I would be remiss if I didn't, time mastery, energy mastery, both taking place in the same month for the first time. Go check it out. Referral Mastery Academy. You get both classes for your membership in Referral Mastery Academy. Become an ambassador today. We'd love to have you. I'm going to become an ambassador for you as well. And ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next time on Referrals Podcast. Thank you, everybody. Love you. Appreciate you.